Hello friends, my name is Reshma. I am a second year CSE student from Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. So today we are going to learn how to program a basic calculator using stack. So we would be given a string as follows and we have to perform the calculation and print the output. For this given string the output is 13. For this we are gonna use application of stacks. First we need to convert the given string into its postfix form, and then this postfix expression is evaluated and the output is printed. So now let's look into the code first. This code consists of a class calc which consists of three functions. One of it is a main function and the next function is used to convert the infix string into its postfix form and return the postfix string. The third function is to evaluate the postfix string and to predict the output. Now let's look into the main function first. The main function calls the object of calc as C and then we have a string. This string is same as the string we have used for the example. Next we have an array of strings as postfix in which we have to store the postfix form of the string. So for that we just call the function infix to postfix. Now let's look into the function infix to postfix. As we can see that this function returns a string. This string is actually the postfix of the string which we have used, which we are passing as the argument. We can see that this consists of a stack of strings and then we have a result string which has initially nothing stored in it. Now we use a for loop for traversing along the string and then we have switch and to handle various cases as follows. To see how this function works, we take a simple case of 2 into 3 minus 5. Initially, result has nothing in it. When we start traversing using the for loop, the string of 0 becomes 2. Since 2 is a digit, it goes to the default case and thus the 2 gets appended to the result. Thus result becomes 2. The next element is multiplication symbol. Which is handled by this case and we can see that it is simply pushed into the stack and now the stack becomes as follows. The next element is 3 which is again a digit, so the result becomes 2 3 as the 3 is appended into the result. The next one is a minus, so we can go here and check what is happening over here. Since the peak of the stack is a multiplication symbol which has a higher precedence than minus, we just simply pop out the multiplication symbol out of the stack and the minus gets pushed into the stack. And now this multiplication symbol is appended to the result and now this result becomes 2 3 into. The next element is 5 and since 5 is also a digit, it is appended to the result and the result becomes 2 3 into 5. Now we can see that we have traversed completely along the string and thus we come out of the for loop and we check whether the stack is empty or not. Since the stack is not empty, everything inside the stack is popped out and is appended to the result. And thus the result becomes 2 3 into 5 minus. Now we can see that this is the postfix form of this given string. So let's work out the same action for our given string and find out its postfix expression. So first element of our given string is 32. Since 32 is a digit, it gets simply appended to the result and the result becomes 32. The next element is a plus symbol and since the stack is empty, it is simply pushed into the stack. The next element is 3 which is a digit and thus it gets appended to the result and the result becomes 32 3. The next element is a minus. Since minus and plus have same precedence, minus is also simply pushed into the stack. The next two are the opening parenthesis and we can see the case that we have to simply push the opening parenthesis into the stack. So our stack becomes as follows. The next element is 5 which is again a digit, so it is appended to the result and the result becomes 32 3 5. The next element is a multiplication symbol and we can see that the peak of the stack is an opening parenthesis. So this multiplication symbol is simply pushed into the stack. The next element is also a digit, so the result becomes 32353. The next element is a plus, which has a lower precedence than the multiplication symbol. So we know that the multiplication symbol gets popped out of the stack and the plus is pushed into the stack. And this multiplication symbol gets appended to the result. Thus, the result becomes 32353 multiplication symbol. The next is also a digit 5, so it is also simply appended to the result and it becomes 32353 into 5. Next is a closing parenthesis. When we look into the case of closing parenthesis, we can see that everything inside the stack gets popped out and appended to the result until we encounter an opening parenthesis. So this addition symbol is popped out of the stack and gets appended to the result, and the result becomes as follows. The next element is a plus symbol. Since the peak of the stack is open parenthesis, the plus symbol is simply pushed into the stack. Next is also a digit, so this digit gets appended to the result and it becomes 32353 into 5 plus 2. Next we can see that it is a closing parenthesis, so everything gets popped out of the stack and gets appended until we encounter an opening parenthesis. So now the result becomes 32353 star 5 plus 2 plus. Now we can see that we have traversed completely along the string, so it comes out of the for loop, and now we can see that the stack is not empty. So everything inside the stack gets appended to the result and the result becomes as follows. We can see that this is the postfix form of our given string. Since this postfix form is stored in the string result, this string result is returned and gets stored into the array of strings postfix. Now the object of class calc C calls the function evalPost to evaluate this postfix function and predict the output. Now let's look into the function evalPost, which we can see that does not return anything but has an argument string, which is the postfix form of our given string. Now this consists of a stack of integers. Now we can see that we use for loop for traversing along our postfix expression, and the switch case is used to handle each of the elements of the string. And after that, the output is printed. We can see that when we get any of these operations are performed, and when we encounter any digit, this digit is simply pushed into the stack. This integer.parseInt is used to convert the string into an integer. Now let's take this postfix string as this. We can see that the first element is 32, and since it is an integer, it is simply pushed into the stack. Similarly, 3, 5, 3 and all are pushed into the stack as follows. The next element is a multiplication symbol. So we just take the peak of the stack and store it into the integer t2, and thus t2 becomes 3, and similarly t1 becomes 5. Then the action is performed as t1 into t2 equal to 3 into 5, which gives 15, and this 15 is pushed into the stack. The next element is 5, which is a digit, so it is simply pushed into the stack. The next action to be performed is addition, since it is a plus symbol, and thus t2 becomes 5, t1 becomes 15, and t1 plus t2 equal to 15 plus 5 equal to 20, which is stored into the stack. The next element is 2, and it is simply pushed into the stack. The next element is plus, so we just take t2 becomes 2 and t1 is 20, thus t2 plus t1 becomes 20 plus 2 equal to 22, which is pushed into the stack. The next element is a minus, as we can see over here. Thus t2 becomes 22, t1 becomes 3, the action to be performed is t1 minus t2 equal to 3 minus 22, which is minus 19, and this minus 19 is pushed into the stack. The last action to be performed is addition, so we take minus 19 as t2, 32 as t1, and the action to be performed is t1 plus t2 equal to 32 minus 19 equal to 13, and this 13 is pushed into the stack. Since we have traversed completely over our string, we just come out of the for loop and then we print the output, which is 13. Thus, So this is how we can program a basic calculator using the application of stack. Thank you for watching this.